Alphacans and Heffacans, unite! This is the DeFi Crypto Alliance show where we're doing our best to bridge the gap between our fellow entrepreneur friends and the best damn crypto community around, PulseChain. That's you guys. How are you guys doing today? I am freaking pumped. Just got back from the gym, so I am super pumped, guys. This is going to be an exciting show today. You like the PulseX glasses today? I got the little colors going through them. I was able to program that in. And I'm not even a techie guy, but that came out very beautifully because PulseX is the best damn price chart in PulseChain, in my opinion. But today we have a special show for you guys. We have the myth, the man, the legend, Mr. Crypto 7. What is going on, brother? Man, how are you doing? Thank you so much for coming on the show today. This is going to be a fun time. We always have a good chat. Man, what is going on with you today, brother?
Thank you so much for asking me, Corey. And I love the sunglasses. I think they are fantastic. And now you've programmed them in with the
I'm always
branding.
trying to find new patterns. I was able to get hex in there, but I can't get it to save. I got to figure out like how to. Yeah, I was able to get in there and do hex, but like I'm still working on it.
Yeah. Well, I think the PLSX maxis will be quite happy that you haven't been able to program it with the hex, but right. Maybe cause a little bit of controversy and things. Why has he got PLSX on?
Man, that's all we need is more of that in our community. But yeah,
good stuff, man. I always love coming on. Love chatting to you, buddy.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, you know, I love watching your show because your show, dude, you always dive in to the macro. You always have some nuggets that you pull out of your hat, man. And I always learn something. Like I always tell everyone on my show, hey, go over there, click subscribe. You're going to learn something. You know, you really go deep on the macro stuff, which I love. What is your thoughts right now on where we're at in the cycle and what's coming next? I would love to hear just kind of where your mindset's at.
Thanks, buddy. That's a great question. Yeah. Well, this bull market hasn't been easy, but they're not. And the time it's easy is the time you're getting like 3 to 5% ROI. You know, it's performing like gold. Bull markets aren't easy. And I said all the way through 2022 and 2023, it's not going to be easy, but it's actually been a little bit harder than even I expected. I think in understanding where we are in things, I should say I am bullish. I do think we're all going to get to Monaco. I do think we're going to make a lot of money in this bull market, but it hasn't been easy, but they're not. And when they're not easy, that's when the big gains are to be had. In trying to understand where we are in this bull market, it's useful to look back at the last bull market. And in the last bull market, the Bitcoin stock to flow model was crazy accurate. It was so accurate, it was ridiculous. In the end, it got front ran because Plan B, who was the main guy behind the Bitcoin stock to flow model, he was predicting where Bitcoin would be pretty much every single month to the dollar. And in the end, Wall Street started to come in for the first time. They started to listen to this guy. It was obvious that the big boys were listening to Plan B. And so it's a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy in that it's unclear whether or not the stock to flow was that accurate or just that everybody was following the stock to flow. It was hard to see whether it was a horse leading the cart, but in the end of the day, but right at the end, it got front ran and people were complaining bitterly because Plan B said it would go to 100K and people front ran it at 70. And, you know, a bit like people would be complaining, for instance, of buying Hex on Ethereum at 56 cents, and because streamers might have said it was going to $1 or whatever, you know. But it's a high class problem, isn't it? And we look back now and think, gosh, imagine having that kind of level of accuracy. So with Plan B taking you through the last bull market with such crazy accuracy, it was fabulous. And obviously, I was listening to him in this bull market, and in this bull market, the stock to flow model hasn't been as accurate at all. In fact, Plan B, who's the main guy behind the Bitcoin stock to flow model, was saying that Q1 would be amazing, that we'd all be in Monaco by now. Jan would be amazing, Feb would be amazing, March would be amazing, and it hasn't played out that way. But there's another model which seems to have the accuracy that the stock to flow had in the last cycle, which is the global M2 money supply. And I've heard you talking about that, Corey, very well. The global M2 money supply is as accurate as Plan B with the stock to flow model was in the last bull market. So we put down the stock to flow model and we look at the M2. And again, it might be that the guys are seeing how accurate it is and just now trading against it. But the fabulous news is, that global M2 predicted this lull in the crypto markets, this retrace. And Global M2 is saying that we're going to start going up very fast now. And within a couple of weeks, we could have Bitcoin and most of the alts back to the levels that they were at in December and January. And that's according to the Global M2. And the fabulous news with Global M2 is that it's predicting very steep rises in crypto between now all the way to July, which is absolutely fabulous because that would give unbelievable levels of gains for anyone in Hex and PulseChain now, cashing in at these levels now. So I'm very, very bullish on the next few months. It's slightly unclear for me whether we do go into 2026, but I think if you're uncomfortably invested now in Hex on Ethereum, Hex on PulseChain, PLS, PLSX, and incentive token, I think that you probably don't need to worry about whether it's going to 2026 because you can start taking some profit off the table. And so that's a nice thing to be looking forward to and be able to share with you exclusively with your fabulous community, buddy.
Yeah, never go broke taking profits. One concern I do have, and you hit on it actually, last cycle, the stock to flow model was just impeccably accurate. It was so good. And then to your point, you said when he called that Bitcoin was going to 100K there at the end of the cycle, it didn't. It stopped out. What was that? 67, 68. I can't remember exactly the number, but it stopped out, a little bit short. Everyone thought it was going higher, and that was Goblin Town after that. Do you think this time around the M2, I love how accurate it is. I love all the work that Collins Talk Crypto has been doing with this stuff. And it's just been so man, I love it. It's almost like a crystal ball. Do you think it's possible that could end up decoupling and kind of faking everyone out at some point during this cycle, the same way the stock to flow did last cycle? So if M2 says, hey, Bitcoin's going to 250, well, maybe we should be taking profits at 180, because we saw what happened with stock to flow. And we know markets like to front run. And we just can't trust the information always. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's a very clever assessment. I think that's exactly right. So as we went through the last bull market and people became more and more confident in the Bitcoin stock to flow and Plan B's predictions, it was almost inevitable that people would use more and more leverage against the prediction of 100K, and that inevitably then we would become a bit overheated in the end and people would sensibly front run it. And so I think it'll be exactly the same process. But these are high-class problems, as we say on Crypto 7, because we're going to be so much higher by then. So I'm sure that is the case. But at the moment, we haven't even got retail in yet. We can see that from all the view numbers on the big channels are very low still. So we know, and we can see it from searches for Coinbase and things like that, that we're very, very low still. So this is something that as we go through this bull market, people become more and more familiar with the global M2, and they will start trading against it, betting against it. They will start using leverage longs, and in the end, it'll end up. I'm sure you're absolutely right about that, Corey. And this is why, as you say, nobody ever regrets taking some profit. Hey, I think we've got Tam Tam in the chat. She's a real girl, She's a real girl, Corey.
She's one of the most positive people on Twitter and on X. She is just she's a breath of fresh air as far as our community is concerned. Just spreading love everywhere, man.
Yeah, shout out to Tam Tam. We've got real females in Hex and PulseChain. It's fantastic.
We do.
They're not bots.
No, we don't have bots in our ecosystem. That is the one thing. Our community is way passionate with a lot of emotion, too much emotion to be bots.
Surely not.
We can probably use a little less emotion sometimes, which is fine. But that's why I'm in love with this community, is because, we are real people with real feelings. And it works both ways. You're going to have some negative folks in there, and you're going to have some positive folks in there. So it's been great. So that's good, man. That's what I thought. That's what my thoughts are too. I want to follow the M2 money supply until we know or we see, a decoupling. But if we can get even a general idea, just a general idea of where the top may be, that tells us a lot of information. And I'm almost into the camp now that the last final top of the cycle could end up pushing into 2026. I don't know if it will or not. And once again, guys, this is not financial advice. We're just two dudes on the internet speculating on our own money. That's all it says. You push your own buttons, you make your own decisions. But at first, when we're going into the cycle, I was like, oh no, for sure the top is going to be Q4 this year. Now I'm starting to we're already in Q2. I mean, this is April. We're in May. This is May. I can't believe we're coming up in May now, and we haven't seen any banana zones. And so there is a possibility in my head. What is your thoughts of that, of going into 2026?
Well, I think I'd make the observation that if you're here now, like all these nice people are, shout out to Perky Shop and Toasted Juice, K Crypto, Tam Tam, we've got Joe, Belgian Hexagon in the house, Milan Tank.
That's
Please
Thailand.
deploy the like on Hex Thailand, thank you. Please deploy those likes on entry. If you're here now, you shouldn't really be needing to rely. If you're here now and uncomfortably invested, as I say on Crypto 7,
Yeah.
Everyone says only the biggest lie in crypto is only invest what you can afford to lose. If you only invest what you can afford to lose, you're not going to make life-changing gains. You're not going to get
Monaco money.
You're not going to get the Monaco money. You're not going to get the underground parking. You're not going to get the concierge.
No.
You're not going to get all sorts of things, guys. Let's just leave it at that. It's a family show. So you're not. So you've got to take the risk now. You either take the risk now, and this goes to your point. What do I think about when it'll finish? If you front load the risk, which is take the risk now, you don't need to worry about whether we're going into 2026 because you will have your life-changing gains. You will be able to hand in that resignation letter by cashing out before the end of the year. If, however, you need more convincing, I say, I've noticed that Ethereum's outperforming Bitcoin last couple of weeks, but people aren't going to believe it until it's like 3,000, 4,000. Nobody's excited by an $1,820 Ethereum, but it's like the wolf in the kids' pantomime creeping up behind us. Look, it's coming, but nobody believes it. But yeah, no. So I think that take the risk now or take the risk later. You've got to take the risk at some point. There's no easy ride in crypto. And so it's payback for everyone now because it has been rough in Hex and PulseChain. But we are going to be soon. We're going to have the luxury of being able to say, do I need 2 Lambos? If I don't need 2 Lambos, or do I need a house in the Hamptons and a house in Martha's Vineyard? If the answer is no, then just get out while you can. And I think a lot of people are obviously going to do that in this cycle because there is this obsession with not wanting to round trip your bags. So I can see that we look good for the next few months, assuming that we can get some more positive progress with the tariffs, and I think we can. Then I think the next few months look great. I'm less clear about the remainder of the cycle. And what you tend to see with crypto is you get a few good months and then you get a few red months. You tend to see that. So if we have this fabulous 3 months, we are then probably going to have a cool off period. And then depends on the macro, and it depends if we've got peace in Ukraine, and it depends, how Donald's feeling. So
he wants to launch a new meme coin.
Yeah, I saw that. I think Elizabeth Warren is trying to clamp down on that on things, but I don't think she'll have much success. But I think it'd be quite a good thing if he was deterred from launching meme coins. But
yeah, I don't know if he should be playing in the markets in that regard. I understand him being an investor and wanting to play, but launching meme coins is a whole nother level. It's a whole nother. You got your one meme coin, let it ride, and let's see if it can do something in this cycle. But yeah, Ethereum is starting to catch a bit. I don't know if you saw, I saw you post today. Actually, I learned it from you. Is that BlackRock bought like $1 billion worth of freaking Bitcoin, and then
on a Bitcoin.
Yeah, and then on Binance and I think Coinbase, there was $50 million of Ethereum bought today.
Yeah, fabulous. Yeah, I think BlackRock also bought Ethereum yesterday, but when you're looking at I think they bought 960 million yesterday.
Wow.
So you kind of, again, this is what I'm talking about. You kind of overlook the fact that they also bought 45 million or something of Ethereum, because these numbers are just so large. And one of the things we've been talking about on Crypto 7 is this rotation effect or diffusion effect. That a good way to look at crypto is that it's like in a closed loop. And if money comes in through Bitcoin, it will go to Hex and PulseChain, just as the hot water in the bath does move all around the bathtub eventually.
Yeah.
It will reach us. It just doesn't reach us immediately. And what we're seeing and this might be a nice segue into Hex and PulseChain, but what we're seeing is that Bitcoin's doing well, Ethereum's doing well. We've just talked about that. We're talking about that now. Most alts are green, but they're not very green. Most of them, there's a few which are early to get the attention, like Sui, Cardano's picking up now, Say, but most alts are just about 0.5% green, 1% green. So because of that, the market is clearly not quite ready to go all in yet. And so Hex and PulseChain, they beat the SEC, then they said they didn't, then they said they did and wanted to pump again. It's kind of, you can kind of see where the market's like, no, because they're not even ready to go all in on some of the safer plays yet, like Algorand and Cardano and all these sorts of things, and new layer ones which haven't got some of the issues that we have, like Aptos. It's been quite quiet. So Sui's doing really well, launched same time as PulseChain. Say's picking up nicely now as well. Aptos is yet to go, and then I think so it'll be Aptos, and then it'll be PulseChain. There comes a point in the bull market, Corey, and hope I'm not, just tell me to shut up if I'm...
Oh, keep going, man.
Thanks, man. Currently where we are, this is a really good way of people to get their heads around what's going on. Currently where we are is people are starting to come back into the water. They want to start coming back in, but they're a bit nervous, and they want to go for Bitcoin. They want to go for Ethereum because they've heard about Vitalik in his T-file head, and they've heard about his girlfriend and things. So they want to go for Ethereum anyway. They want to go for safe bets. They're not ready to go for the more risky things. There will come a point, and also they want to go for the things that are going up, which is natural human nature. Later in this bull market, people will really get their heads around. Every cycle, this is what happens. People start to say, I know what I should be doing now, because Crypto Banter talks about this a lot in a bull market. They say, you got to look for the things that haven't gone up yet, or the things that are going to go up next. And that becomes a mindset. And even the retail eventually start to pick up this mindset. We've got to look for what's not gone up. So right now, we see the fact that PulseChain isn't going up has been a bit disappointing since the SEC result, to say the least. We see that as a bug and not a feature. But later it'll be like, oh, fantastic. Look at this. Sui's gone up crazy. Well, Say's going up loads. Aptos is going up now, but PulseChain hasn't gone up yet. So people start to condition their brains that they don't buy Sui because it's gone up 70% this week, and they don't buy Say because it's gone up 20% this week, and Aptos because it's gone up 5% so far this week. You buy PulseChain because it hasn't gone up this week, and that's what we've got to look forward to. So we're early, which means we don't have to torture ourselves with, is the bull market going to go on till 2026? Because if you need the bull market, if you're watching Corey Geary now, and you need the bull market to go to 2026, then you're not uncomfortably invested. So that's the bottom line there. And as I say, later in this cycle, we will see that people will actively seek risk. They like Richard because he's edgy now. They don't like him now. We're not ready for Richard Hart yet. We're only sort of ready for, I don't know, somebody a lot more sensible like Charles Hoskinson. We can deal with Charles Hoskinson. We're not ready for a Richard Hart yet. He's too loud.
It's funny you mentioned that. My fitness coach, he's a Bitcoin guy. Like he has a lot, and he's been doing okay again now in Bitcoin. There for a while, he's like texting me every week. Hey, bro, when's Bitcoin going to turn around? I'm like, dude. Like, and I would show him the M2 money chart, and I kept sending him that, like, bro, we're not there yet. But now he's starting to do okay again. And now he's starting to ask me, to your point, he's like, hey, dude, what are you buying right now? What are you in? Because now he's doing good in his Bitcoin bag, and he's starting to think, like you said, he's like, you know what? I can use a little more risk now because the Bitcoin's done so well. I can put some of that money in something that's a little more risky and something that's a little more, has more gains or more gas in the tank, if you will. And so like he's been texting me now, and I'm like, yeah, dude. I'm like, you check out this Hex thing, dude. Check out this Pulse thing. and you want to research Richard Hart and what's going on with him, and you have any questions, hit me up, and I'll be more than happy to talk through anything that's going on and educate you on the ecosystem. And he hasn't bought anything yet, but he's doing his, he's going through his little due diligence process, and he's just happy his Bitcoin's going up. And so he's looking for that other opportunity.
Exactly, man. The average forecast for Bitcoin in this bull market, 2025, perhaps early 2026, is 180,000, which is exactly a 2x from where we are now. So we know that the market cap of Bitcoin is 1.9 trillion. So we know that if we go for the average estimate that Bitcoin's going to double in price, we know there's another $1.9 trillion coming into crypto through the Bitcoin doorway. And what we're saying is that all that money will rotate around in exactly the way you've just described your clever, wealthy dentist or whatever he is.
He's my
personal trainer, fitness coach.
Yeah.
He's now done well in Bitcoin. He's enriched himself in Bitcoin, and he's now looking to top slice, and probably more than top slice. This is what people do, is they go a lot of times people will make a lot of money in the big market cap cryptos like Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then they lose their heads. They think they're trading gods, and they go off into all sorts of new IDOs and things and lose a lot of money. But yeah, absolutely. So this is a thing that's $1.9 trillion, and that's you got to get your head around. And that's looking
a lot of money.
And that's looking for riskier things. That's looking for how they can leverage the gains they've made in Bitcoin and Ethereum and SUI and all the rest, and how they can make more money. And here's the strongest community, Hex and PulseChain, and we're just ready for. But I love your view. I mean, it's Richard's been quiet. We said in today's stream on Crypto 7, we said quiet before the storm, but he's been very, very quiet, both in terms of how Richard normally is on X, but in particular because he's just done this historic victory against the SEC. You'd think he'd be trying to ram that down people's throats. But I think we got the news on the 21st. And his last tweet was the 23rd. So he tweeted a bit, did a few posts.
Talked about it for a minute.
Talked
Not
about
really
it
bragging,
for
though,
a minute. No, yeah. And now it's been very quiet. And I think, what's your take on that? Where are you with that, Corey?
So here's my hypothesis, and not that I, have any proof. Once again, it's never financial advice, guys, on this show. It's just me speculating. But I've heard from the grapevine that his attorneys are working very diligently on the Interpol thing, and I think now, once again, I don't know, I don't have proof, but that could end up getting squashed more sooner than later. It's what I'm hearing. Okay, so if he just how the SEC
smash the lights for that, everyone. That's fantastic news.
Yeah. And once again, it's not me. That's I've heard it, and who knows if it's true or not. I would love to see if it's true. That would be freaking amazing. But think about it. His attorneys spent with his attorneys anywhere from $10 to $30 million. That's an average. If you go look it up on AI, like Grok or something, it'll tell you he probably spent $20 million with these type of attorneys doing this type of work. It's a lot of work. And he has the best attorneys in the world, like Elon Musk type attorney. This is great, man. Right? So, if he's going to go to that extent to fight the SEC, get that that cleared, where they're not even looking to arrest him or looking to they just want to shake him down. Is basically all they wanted. With the Interpol thing, what do you think he's doing? Well, he's doing the exact same thing. He's got the attorneys on there, and they're doing his. I mean, that's why I believe he's being quiet, because I think it's getting closer than not, and he's waiting for that final victory. That will be the final victory when the Interpol thing is completely cleared. He'll be doing his laps, and then I think the streams come back on, and then you might see some bragging. Who knows? I wouldn't mind it though. It wouldn't bother me. I know some people will probably get pissed off about it, but it's never bothered me that much. It's just who he is, and I've always seen through it. So, and that's what I think is going on. I think he's being quiet because it is the calm before the storm. You're right. There's some more work being done behind the scenes, which is the perfect time, man, because we're not in that banana zone yet. Yeah, it's nice Bitcoin's going up. It's nice ETH is catching a bid, but we're not in this full-blown altcoin season yet at all. And so let's get all this BS work done first. That way we have less headwinds, right? When it's time to go to banana zone and go up, you got the big players like you were talking about earlier, who got a lot of money, and they're going to be looking to go somewhere and invest after their Bitcoin's gone up to $120,000. They're going to be like, oh, okay, what else is out there? They'll actually look at PulseChain because it's no longer got those headwinds. It's no longer got the SEC taint, around it anymore. It's no longer got Interpol FUD around it anymore. It's going to be a sandbox. It's untainted, and big money will come in and play in that, because big money likes certainty. They like that confidence of like, and they don't mind buying bigger green candles. Big money doesn't mind it, because that's part of that certainty is buying big green candles. Where me and you, we want to catch 100%. The bottom, because we want that fucking 50x, 100x, 500x, right? Like, but big money doesn't need a 500x.
100%. That's right. I think we're too cheap at the moment. I mean, I was looking at the prices of PLS at the moment and things. We're just too cheap, and it's fabulous if you're here and you've got belief in things, but I think we will go up at an accelerated rate. It's reflexivity, isn't it? The higher we go, the more people want to buy, and we're just still are very early in things. And one of the reasons we're so early in Hex and PulseChain is this issue that Richard hasn't been able to stream. There's a lot of people in the community that think that he will never stream, and for me, that's just so far from the truth, because it takes me back to when I was a professional motorcycle racer. I loved, one of the reasons I did it quite well was because
I didn't know this about you. You might have to tell me the more stories.
Oh yeah. I was the youngest rider for Suzuki in the UK championships. And
shit.
Yeah.
And you do horses too, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, no. Well, the horses is my daughter's bikes. Really, my dad was a Grand Prix motorcycle racer, and I was lucky enough to have him guiding my career and things. So I did very well in motorcycle racing. But one of the reasons I did so well in motorcycle racing was because I loved it so much. Yeah, well, I'm linking this to Richard streaming, and it'll all make sense in a moment, guys. So one of the reasons that I was quite good was because I loved it. And what I mean by that was 5 a.m, I'd be out my motorhome, and I'd wander the paddock until there was somebody to talk to. And I would just walk around excitedly until there was someone to talk to. And then we go to scrutineering, and then eventually we go to first practice. And I was just the first one in the whole paddock. There were thousands of people there, and I would be the first one roaming around until there was somebody I could talk to. I was that excited. Now, when Richard was, now linking this with Richard, when Richard was a streamer, when he used to go on YouTube and things, he used to say to everybody, well, nobody's ever been able to talk to me on a stream longer than I can talk to somebody. And that's because he loves it. He loves streaming more than anybody, just as I nearly said my name then, just as well, everyone knows I'm Chris, but I nearly did my surname as well. Just as I loved motorcycle racing more than anyone else, which is, why I got to earn a living doing it. Richard loves streaming more than anybody else on the internet. That's why he could go, well, nobody can stream longer than me. Bring it on. Let's have a debate. I'll be here. I don't need to go to the toilet. I don't need to anything. I don't need to eat. Let's just do this, right? That's one of the things that everyone loved about it. So once the red notice is cleared up, and fantastic alpha from Corey Geary here telling us the information he has, and you told me a little bit offline as well, a little bit more that you can't say, and absolutely giving me a warm feeling down below, to be honest, guys. So Richard loves streaming more than, doesn't he? He loves people. He doesn't like to be on his own. He wants to stream. So when that red notice is cleared up, if you don't think he's going to stream, then, I don't know what you're drinking, guys. I don't know what you're smoking, because he is streaming. And where this links to is the value of Richard streaming is, for me, much more than whatever he raised in a SAC fund, whatever's in Ethereum that he potentially could inject into the ecosystem. For me, that's not the juice. I'm not here because somebody might give me some exit liquidity at some point in PulseChain. I'm here because of Richard Hart. I'm here because of Richard Hart. I'll be absolutely honest about it. I know Fast Abdul is coming on my show soon. He's here for the tech. I'm here for Richard Hart. I'm here for some of the people. Here he is. I'm here for the gains. Show me the money. That's what we say on Crypto 7. But Richard is, from what you've just told me, and from what I understand about how much Richard loves, because what we say on Crypto 7 is, if I'm saying something that doesn't sound right, you tell me. But what do you think the reason is that Richard could stream longer than anybody else on crypto YouTube?
It's his passion.
Because he fucking loves it.
I can't do it. I don't mind streaming. I like it, but it's not a passion. It's not like my deep love where I want to come on here and hang out all day and for 8 hours and educate a community and talk about like just, crypto all day long. For him, that's his
He
thing. You're
loves
right.
it.
You hit the nail on the head there. And, I had some people even in my community yesterday asking like, hey, why isn't he streaming yet? The SEC thing is cleared. What is going on? Like, well, look, if you look at it, the SEC was never trying to arrest Richard, but Interpol is. Like, if I were Richard, I would want the person who's trying to arrest me gone before the person who was just trying to find me, which was the SEC, right? Like, when he got that cleared anyways, but like, I'd want that Interpol stuff gone before I'd even think about turning on the camera. That's me personally, because I think that's how they got Andrew Tate. Didn't Andrew Tate get arrested because he was streaming and they were able to locate where he was streaming from? I think something like that. That's what I've heard. I don't have like, solid evidence for that, but like, I think that's how they got him. And you just got to be careful, with this kind of stuff. And if he's in a location that, he definitely doesn't want disclosed, and he definitely doesn't want anyone trying to figure out, like, even when he was streaming before, he didn't try to disclose his locations. But like a lot of the Hexicans knew where he lived because they would listen, like they'd hear the alarms like from the like the ambulances. They could pinpoint like, oh, he's probably in, somewhere in Europe because of the sound of that alarm from the ambulance. They were able to tell kind of where he was at, even though he would not disclose on his stream where he was at. He didn't want to know where he was at, but people knew. And so I think that's totally my theory on that. I would not be streaming, even though if it's my passion. Like, to your point, Crypto 7, if I had a nation state trying to arrest me, you can't even go to certain airports, right? Like, if you go to a certain airport, they'll arrest you because you're on that list.
Yeah, and just to go to some of the comments in the chat, because I think people are misunderstanding. I'm not saying that I think he's going to stream before the red notice is clear.
Yeah, no.
We've just had the juice from Corey. We've just had some alpha from Corey about how likely some positive resolution on that is very soon. What I'm saying is the moment we get that, I do think also it's interesting that the last tweet he made was very, very significant around how SEC didn't drop the case. He beat the SEC. That was the last tweet he made. Just kind of open the door. The next tweet might be a very big one. But the longer it goes without us hearing from him, the more I think the next tweet could be, I'm going live. Yes. I'm going live. Or we've got some good news. And I don't think people realize how much the price would go up then. I think it would just go crazy. And then people would just look at why the price is going up so much, and we'd all be here promoting the reasons. I just think it's going to be nuts. And the big risk in Hex and PulseChain, there's a huge risk in Hex and PulseChain right now. And the huge risk is not to be in. The huge risk is not to be invested uncomfortably. Because if, like me and Corey, you're invested uncomfortably now, and even if there's only a 50% chance that this surprisingly good-looking middle-aged Englishman is right about this, we could be looking at a 4, 5, 6x in a couple of days. It's going to be crazy. We could be looking at 10x or more in a month. And that's a lot of money, guys. That's a lot of money, and it's reward for the people that kept the faith. I mean, I know there's a couple of strange fundraisers going on at the moment in the community and things. I mean, I don't want to give them any publicity, but one's an anonymous website. I mean, if you're going to sack for an anonymous website, then nobody that subscribed to Crypto 7 is stupid enough to do that. But
and one wants to burn eHex, which is like or something like that. Like, what he did the gas. I own eHex. I'm not going to participate in the fundraising, but you want to pump my eHex bags? Pump away. I don't my eHex bags, because I am a believer of eHex.
Wasn't that the guy that messed up a meme coin though? I wouldn't be. I mean, how do you mess up?
I unfortunately was in that.
If you can mess up a meme coin, you're going to make a right mess of an L2. That's just
Yeah, I was in that meme coin and got wrecked, but because I thought it was a great idea. Like, it was when the 404. No, it was the new NFT technology emerged, where you could fractionalize it and then it would turn into an internet, which is really cool. It's a cool concept. And so, like, when he launched it, I was like, oh, okay, I got into that on PulseChain and it did okay. It went great. And he's like, hey, we're going to do it in Solana. And that's when it really got wrecked. Anytime, I've noticed about this Crypto 7, anytime a community member who wants to drive the project or bring economic energy over to a different blockchain out of this ecosystem, that's when I noticed it gets wrecked. Like, it's not when they create inside PulseChain and they do it here and they try to expand here. It's when they try to expand outside and do something else. Because the problem is my theory on this is because your base or your investor base is coming from the PulseChain ecosystem, and they're mostly Richard Hart people. And you're going over here and you're saying, oh, well, I'm going to go and do my own thing over here on Solana now that has nothing to do with the ecosystem or supporting the ecosystem. That's where I see it really almost always tanking. And that's been my experience so far. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, man. I mean, more power to them, and I just won't be participating. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to raise very much, particularly the anonymous website. I'm not sure about the other guy, but I don't see it as a problem anyway. I mean, and so that's not it's not an issue. I just think it's very, very interesting that Richard has, because it's very rare that Richard doesn't tweet for a week, and particularly on the back of such big news. So I think he's occupied by things.
They're working.
From what you're saying, it sounds like we might have a big announcement coming. So,
I hope it's sooner than later, but we don't I don't know how much time this stuff takes to work out. Like, I mean, SEC did take, what was that, a year and a half, about full from beginning to end. I can't remember when we got hit with that date. I remember I had just moved to Puerto Rico, so I'm in Puerto Rico now for 2.5 years. Yeah, 2 years. Like 2 years it took for SEC to work itself out. Does Interpol take that long?
No, I think that's a good comment. Let's talk about that, because I think this is a very different process, because obviously one involves lots of court hearings and things, and the other one doesn't, does it?
That's true.
The other one, to be honest, probably just involves a backroom negotiation
of monies.
Yeah. Like, what do they want? 400 million? I say offer them 200 million and tell them you want free parking in Finland for the rest of your life. But I think for me, the value of Richard Hart streaming is way more than 200 million. I think we should do it. GoFundMe and find 200 million if that. I think he's just, people don't realize how much he's going to pump the ecosystem when he is allowed to stream, and it's very, very exciting. I mean, I think some people are getting nervous he hasn't posted. And then let's talk about, I mean, I can see why. I said today that really we should have predicted, we should have anticipated, guys like you and me, we should have anticipated that asking the market to reward us a second time for the same thing was never going to work out too well. And we should have been pushing it hard. We should have been doing banners being towed by airplanes over Muscle Beach saying Richard Hart has beaten the SEC. We should have been sponsoring big channels to talk about it. I mean, really, we should have been pushing that. And I think instead we all just sat around watching the prices and thinking, okay, it's not gone up very much, has it? So it's kind of been it's been very anticlimactic. And as I say, there's nothing worse than seeing everything else green and we're not green. But really, when you break it down, other than Bitcoin, Sui, and a few others, most things are barely green. So people are just, as I said earlier, tentatively coming back in. They're not ready for Richard Hart. They're not ready for possible red notices and assaults of 16-year-olds, allegedly. They're not ready for that kind of stuff. And then later they'll be like, oh, yeah, this is great. Richard Hart, yeah, he's edgy. We want edgy. We want the big gains. But, yeah, it's coming. And Ethereum's outperforming Bitcoin, and that's exciting as well. So
that's the big, for me, critical change in the market, I think, that we've been waiting for, is that Bitcoin dominance breaking down for Ethereum to start catching a bid against Bitcoin, because that's when all the other layer ones, EVMs, can start catching a bid. And as we know, I talk about on the show all the time, there's 2 addresses that have over 300,000 Ethereum that likes to buy our stuff. Whether it will or not, I have no idea. But we know that there is those 2 addresses out there. And so, yeah, that's what we're waiting for. We're one massive leverage play on Ethereum. I even learned that on your show, that we're really just ETH maxis when it comes out to it at the end of the day. We're just looking for ETH to really start catching a bid, because no one's going to have confidence. I think if you're a big investor, you're not going to have that much confidence in PulseChain either if Ethereum's not pumping, because you also know there's those 2 wallets that have over 300,000 Ethereum. You know we're an EVM. You know that the dynamics are based around what Ethereum does. And so, like, if you're smart money, why would you come into PulseChain unless ETH is catching a bid? So really, we need that market dynamic to shift. And I think it is right now, like to your point, we're starting to see that a little bit. I even saw Randy Hilarski, which I love Randy, not a friend of the show. And he posted that the Ethereum went green on the Orox indicator. I used to watch a show when he used to stream a lot. He'd always bring up the Orox charts and show like, and it's basically on the monthly when it goes green or red. And he's like, it's about 70% accurate. And if you just bought off the green and then sold off the red, 70%, you're going to make money. And so the fact that the Orox indicator went green there too is a big sign or indicator that the Ethereum is shifting. The trend is shifting. So a lot of good stuff coming up. But man, this is we've been going for about, here about 40 minutes. Anything else you want to talk about before we wind it up?
No, really, just going to your point that you've just made, just adding to it that it doesn't take a lot to really inject the mojo, as we say, back into the community.
Yeah.
I mean, if you remember when we first thought we'd beaten the SEC, I stumbled across the news because I saw that Crypto Coffee was live. And so I thought, oh, I'll see what Crypto Coffee's got to say. And he's like, breaking news, we've beaten the SEC. The atmosphere was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh, it was fantastic. It was like the best party you've ever been in. And the prices, PLS and PLSX, both went to 4 zeros and a 5. So we know that the difference between where we are at the moment, doom and gloom, despondency, lots of people are very upset, to absolute, or not euphoria perhaps, but a really nice feeling, is only like a 2x away. It's only like an 80, 90% from where we are now, less. So 75, 80%. So, I mean, that's just the other thing I'd say is things turn around very quickly in crypto when they do. Just picking up something Urban Productions saying that, I'm not necessarily advocating that we ring up the Finnish government and offer them $500 million but what I'm finding interesting is I find a lot of people in the community who are very frustrated and despondent about the situation, crying, if you like, as we say. But then nobody seems to agree with me that we could do a deal with the Finnish government and just pay the fuckers off. Nobody seems to agree with me on that.
Exactly
and I find that a bit weird. I'm trying to find solutions. It's like for me, most people watching probably think $200 million is a lot of money. It's not really a lot of money. Not when you've got someone like Richard Hart's charisma. The value of someone like Richard Hart. He could make us 200 million in a week of streaming. Go on a couple of shows, go on Altcoin Daily. We've all made 200 million back into the ecosystem. That's why I say Urban Productions. If we shout out to you, nice to see you. That's why I say if we could do a deal, let's expedite this. Let's expedite it, speed it up. Let's make it happen, dude. It's been fantastic. Honestly, it was worth coming on just to hear the alpha you had around potential positive progress around the red notice, because if we can do it without paying him off, even better. And I'm sure that's probably his plan. But
man, I think they're going to end up. They're making a deal. I think you're 100% accurate. And I don't know if it's going to be 200 million or if it's 10 million or if it's going to be even more. Like I think you're 100% accurate that, because that's all it is. It comes down to money always. And to your point earlier, they're not going through a bunch of court cases to prove whether or not he is guilty. The red notice is like almost an automatic, oh no, you owe us money. It's just what it is. It's not like you go in front of a judge and go and determine whether or not you're having a red notice. No, it's about money. That's it. Where here, the SEC, he was able to fight that. He still paid. He still, don't make no mistake about it, guys. He paid through his ass for the SEC here. He probably paid anywhere from 10 to 30 million, right? For those attorneys to go and take care of the issue. So it was not free. There is no free lunch. Like, this is how it works, right?
And the biggest cost is the loss of freedom, isn't it? Because you can't put a price on being able to stream. You can't put a price on being able to rock up at I mean, what would be the value of Richard being able to attend a Hex conference and shake hands and break bread and have a drink?
Europe, I'd fly to UK. I'd fly to Monaco. I'd fly anywhere to go do that. And whenever he does that again, I would fly there to go hang out.
You know, everyone? So would I. So would everyone. And that is why. Can you imagine? And therefore, it would be like you'd have people standing room only outside the conference center. Everyone would want to go. You'd be
great
trying to buy tickets off people who had tickets to go and watch Richard Hart. have a drink with Richard Hart. You'd raise that 200 million in a night.
Yeah.
All right, mate, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Guys, go follow Crypto7 on his channel. He's always bringing in alpha, which is why I love watching his channel. He's got an absolute amazing following. Also, follow him on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. That's a great place to go follow his alpha too. And guys, there's 187 of you guys watching here today. There's 139 on Twitter. Guys, give me a retweet to help boost the algorithm of the show. Keep bringing the good word of cryptocurrency as a wealth creation tool. Real estate and other real world assets as a wealth preservation tool, and not pay any taxes with DeFiWealthTrust.com. There's 48 of you guys watching on YouTube. Smash the like, hit the subscribe. And guys, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks again, Seven. I appreciate you as always. And see you guys mañana.
Fantastic. That was a fantastic outro as well. Your intros are out fire, but your outros are good as well.
Thank you, Seven. Appreciate it, man.
Ciao.
Peace.
Later. Peace.